Very good.
Okay, live streaming very shortly. The progress bar apparently is a lie because usually about now it actually,
Oh, do you
even though
want
it's
the
about
link
halfway
then?
through. Yeah, just whack it on the meeting, I guess, if you can.
Is it time to make stupid faces then?
It is definitely time to make stupid faces. Oh, yeah. Before
Really frightening.
Welcome back, live stream
back.
followers on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope on Twitter. Maybe sometime in the future we'll be on these various game streaming platforms as well, like Twitch and all the rest of it. But in the meantime, I vaguely know those three, so that's what's happening. And in future, I'm sure we'll be taking over the world with digital poetry. But for the moment, we're in 4 places.
I would like to tell everyone that I'm actually drinking water, so I'm actually this stupid in real life too.
So creativity not limited by alcohol consumption or otherwise. Wonderful stuff. It's good for us to know. This is the part of the evening where we usually jabber a little bit about the kind of things that are also on in the region, though we may broaden what region means or narrow it down depending how we're looking at this. I suspect this will be a lot shorter than usual. So I'm going to tell you about the stuff that we do. We are still committed to doing these once a month. They happen on the first Friday of every month, not including August and July and August. Though that might change now because we're not tied to a venue right now. So you never know how that's going to go.
And there is no fringe.
Yeah.
There is no fringe, it's true, which used to be one of the limiting factors. Our regional final will still take place whether it's here or it's in Cambridge Junction in September, the first Friday of September, which if I were a bit more professional I would have looked up in advance to tell you exactly which date of the month that is, but we've got time. I can still scroll through. Someone will have gone into their diary and
It
gone,
is
excuse
the
me.
4th. It's the 4th
Thank
of
you.
September.
Always someone. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Right, so we have on the 4th of September, because she needs to know because she's in it, we will be having this, whether it is here or whether it's in Cambridge Junction or whether it is some kind of exciting mixture of the two, depending on how it's all going to work out. But in the meantime, the next one is going to be the 1st of May. I have not yet confirmed with the two artists, although I'm looking potentially at one of them right now, whether they're happy to go ahead with this digital version of things. But what I'm going to say is just watch this space because as far as I can tell, just everything's going to keep changing, but we're going to still be doing this on the first Friday of every month until we have a break. Yes, so the slam rota will open up again each time. We have spaces for 8 performers, and in advance we try to make it reasonably even, so we'll have 3 designated spots for female performers, 3 for male and 2 for non-binary performers. And then if it turns out that only a certain gender has actually turned up on the night, only 1 or only 2, then that's what we get, but we operate a waiting list until that point. It seems to be working. We're having a lot more variety in our slam lineups lately, so which is really great to see and hear. What else? So we're also running Allographic. Allographic open mic is once a month. It's on the last Sunday of the month, and the next one of those is going to be on the 26th of April. We were going to have Emma Pursehouse as our guest artist, but she doesn't have broadband. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have her in the evening, but we will improvise. I'm sure we will find a way of doing something a bit different. But it's a general open mic, and we did it digitally last time. It seemed to work quite nicely. Even the chaos round. And if you've not heard of a chaos round, that's because we're the only people who do it that I know of. Which you'd need to go to the event to find out what chaos round is, but it did seem to work.
I've been doing chaos rounds at Wordmakers.
Excellent. So Wordmakers, we nicked it off Jibber Jabber. Wordmakers doing it as well. So yeah, but it's generally curated, and then we'll have a chaos round in the middle. Just because sometimes we feel like it, sometimes we don't, which is the nature of chaos. In the afternoons, we were doing this monthly, but we're now doing this weekly. that seems to be working out quite nicely, so we'll continue doing that for the next few months. Again, obviously we're not meeting in person, but we're able to do our workshops and write-ins every afternoon via this medium. So that's from 2 till 5 every Sunday, and you'll find the links on Facebook, and we'll start putting it out on Twitter and a couple of other places as well. We also have the write-ins are an opportunity for people to just basically be sitting and writing, so that there are people, there are people around you who are also writing. You don't necessarily always need to be doing the same exercises, but we found that there's something about knowing that everyone else is also writing, so you can dedicate that time to doing that. You're not trying to do admin at the same time. You're not got the great, I'm going to hoover, I haven't hoovered for ages, instead of writing the poem or the script or the story or whatever it is. And we can give guided exercises as well. So it's a combination of things and feedback if people want it. And in the meantime, through the week, we have a Discord server. Some people will be frowning at this, and some people will go, oh God, Discord, really? And some people are going, yay. So it's a real mix. But a Discord server is like an old-fashioned chat room, text only generally. And we have separate channels within the server for different types of conversation. So if people want to talk about poetry, there's a poetry stream, there's a prose stream, there's a NaPoWriMo dedicated stream. There's a prompts and exercises bit for people to pick things up. There's a place for people to go and ask for feedback, all that kind of thing. We're growing it quite organically. We're going to take people's feedback into consideration and make sure that it turns into something that's useful for everyone. And it's a way of keeping that momentum going through the week between workshops. And again, that came out of the first one that we did of the virtual workshops, where people said it'd be good to keep talking about it. And we realized that limiting things to Facebook, for example, people aren't into Facebook or they don't like Facebook, or for whatever reason, it gives them a much more anonymized way of doing things. It's another means to do it, and you can do it on your phone, or you get on an app, or you can do it online. So yeah, look out for that. That's on our various social media things. Yeah, for the meantime, that's it. Does anyone else have any digital, virtual poetry events coming up in the next month that they would like to promote on this channel? Rebecca Cooney.
Oh, hello. I just want to plug, if you've got a lot of time at home, I run a podcast focused. We say it's focused on the poetry scene in London and beyond, because we all live in London, and getting out to events outside of London was a bit difficult. So we don't want to ignore you, but we also don't want to pretend we're catering to you as well as we're catering to London. So, but it's called Dead Darlings. We have interviews with poets, we have kind of tips, we have sort of a live poem of the month recorded at a different event we've been to. This month, because of the coronavirus stuff, we recorded a phone-in open mic, and that just went up yesterday, and it just sounds great. People have been amazing and phoned in with their poems and stuff, and we probably will be doing that again. So we're on all kind of good podcatchers, and Dead Darlings. You can find us at Dead Darlings on Twitter and at Dead Darlings on Facebook. Like I said, we probably will be doing the live open mic again, so do check us out on social media to find out the details for taking part in the next one.
And it is a really, really excellent I don't know, I don't want to call it service, that's not quite right either, but it's entity. It's a whole bunch of different things all bundled together. Yeah, it's really good. And I know it's weird to say this for a voice artist who is on a podcast, but I don't generally like podcasts very much, and this one is beautiful. So yeah, it's like my list of ones I will actually listen to. So yeah, cool.
It has also been on it. If you listen to our second episode, you can hear an interview with Faye.
I have been on it, yes. I was, of course, late. It's fine. They came down from London, were on time, and I was late from Cambridge. Anyway, that's fine. And then Rebecca did an amazing practice for her sponsored ride to France and back, or whatever it was.
Amsterdam. So I was cycling to Amsterdam about 5-6 weeks after we did the recording. So we got a train to Cambridge, and I cycled back on the hottest day of the year, through what turned out to be the hilliest part of Essex, which I didn't know that. I didn't know there were hills in Essex. There are fucking hills in Essex, turns out. So yeah.
Dedicated, all sorts of things going on. Fantastic. Right. Anyone else got any virtual things going on that they would like to? Miriam, go for it.
If you want to see me again performing, I'm going to be doing I'm not quite sure actually. I've been asked to do a reading of my book. I'm sure it's not the whole book because that take 2 hours. And it's on Sunday the 12th at 8 p.m. as part of the Winchester Fest live streaming thing that's going on. And the details will be available on the link that I shall put somewhere at some point.
Okay.
It's very mysterious.
Awesome. Anyone else got anything else to?
I've
yet.
got. Oh, sorry.
No, no.
There's somebody performing one of my stories on a podcast, but I don't actually have details of it at the moment. It's during the day on the 1st of May. And I'll find the website that it's on and put it up in the chat thing just here. I'll do
Perfect.
that.
That's a good idea. The chat thing.
Yeah, this chat thing here. Yeah, I'll find that the email for that. No, it's not an email, it's the website. Sorry.
That's all right.
Sometimes the toaster seems too technical for me. But yeah, it's my story, Granny Takes a Trip, which I did perform in a basic form once at Allographic.
Yeah, I was going to say that does sound familiar.
And some people it was with the glove puppets, but some people have actually
Yes.
done it with real people instead of glove puppets. So
Mm.
it's quite exciting.
That is exciting. Yeah, so Bella specialises in microfiction, I think is a decent way of putting it. So less poetry, more storytelling, specifically like drabbles and other things where you have to tell the story in 100 words or 50 words or something like that, which is really, really impressive. And also dark as fuck generally is the impression I've got before. So yeah, if you like your fiction or creative non-fiction and all these kind of things that are just a little bit dark, yeah, check out Bella's stuff and look out for Granny Takes a Trip. Link will be posted in the group chat and then in various other places afterwards. Groovy. The only other thing to say is it is NaPoWriMo, National Poetry Writing Month this month. I know the NaPoWriMo.net site does prompts every day. So does the Syntax Poetry Festival. So that's the Peterborough Literary Poetry Festival. They are doing prompts every day as well. So check out their website. That's Syntax, SYNTAX. I don't know why I did that in BSL, but luckily you couldn't see that. And it's too late. I told you about it. Yeah. So Syntax Poetry Festival. So yeah, check them out online. And they'll be giving prompts every day, and we'll probably do some on the Discord as well. Any more? Anything else you want to plug? Or do you want the scores for... Yeah, you want scores, don't you?
Yeah.
Let's get some scores going. Alrighty. Let me find... Okay. People sending me chainmail. I always love that when that happens.
That's your favourite.
It is my favourite. It really is. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I will spotlight me so that it doesn't do that thing where, you know, it's like the Oscars where you shoot to people's reactions. This is just going to be a bit rude, isn't it? So yeah, let's read out the scores. Now, I am sure I remember telling you that if people went over time, they would lose points.
No.
Oh dear.
Yes. So that's a thing that we need to bear in mind when I tell you about a person who came fourth. He went over by quite a lot because it starts after 3 minutes 10 seconds and it was 3 minutes 38 seconds for reference, but in fourth with a score of 22.9 it is Elizabeth McGowan. Please give it up for Elizabeth. I know, I'm so sorry. Sorry, Elizabeth. Yeah, I know, it's a shame. Elizabeth tends to specialise in like 4 or 5 minute long poems with a beautiful Clown as a Bastard. And
I have done that
you.
one at just under 3 before, so
oh,
alas, I should have a clock in front of me, I think.
Yeah.
just let it breathe.
Edit.
I'm of a theory that time works differently in Cambridge. The only time I've ever gone over time on a slam was in Cambridge, and it's never been anywhere
Bloody
near 3
Cambridge.
minutes anywhere else. Time works differently there.
But yeah, I think that's entirely possible. We do have weird physics things going on. Anyway, in third place with 25, I'm just going to check. I think they are still not here. Yeah, they went off for their dinner. But please give a virtual round of applause so that they can check it on the live stream later for Demi Smith. Hooray! 25, very good, lovely. Now it gets into decimal points, kids, basically. Because in second place with a score of 25.2, we have Karis Hannah. Please give it up for Karis. Hey, well done, Karis.
Thank you.
Which means in first place with a score of 25.9, I told you it was very close. I know, all the way from that Bath. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting for the final, see how we always work this out. But please give it up, going through to our regional final. It is Catherine O'Driscoll. Nice.
Maybe Catherine can be live streamed.
I think that's, yeah, we're just going to do something creative, I think, for Catherine. However this works out, I want for future events to be able to combine live and streaming. And I've been thinking about doing it for ages, and now I have to. So, you know, we're learning as we go along, but we'll find ways. Because we're clever, it's going to happen. So yeah, exciting times. So yes, our next feat. Should I try words again? Words are a thing I'm supposed to do. Yes, our current heat winner is Catherine joining. Oh, see, I can do this now because I've got it right in front of me, as opposed to just trying to make it up and remember who's in the national final, regional final. I've actually just got it in front of me on a spreadsheet, and I can tell you who else is going to be joining in. So you'll be joining Alex Tyler, Rosie O'Donnell, Mike Hood, Helen Lee, who's our judge, Rebecca Cooney, Lee House, and then Catherine. And we have two more, and I don't know what we're going to do about the Strawberry Slam, because that was going to be happening in an all-day outdoor festival. So thing that one out the window, because that one's being cancelled as well. But yeah, we might do something exciting for Strawberry Fair Day, who knows. Anyway, right, we're going to move on. This is the exciting bit where I get to introduce our headliner, who's been here since fucking hours, mate. Just watching everything and joining in the conversations, generally being amazing. Basically, all of this has happened at quite short notice, from the cancellation venue and everything that's been happening around it, finding out whether we've got the technology to do it, and then checking to see if I can get folks to actually turn up and do stuff. So I was more thrilled than I can adequately use words for, that Hannah was free and able to do this and willing to do this. I've been watching Hannah on stages off and on for, I think it's something like 8 years, when my partner dragged me along to an interactive poetry show in kind of like a little sort of basementy bit that smelt of crayons off the side of a church in Edinburgh. I had to walk miles, and I was just going, oh, it's better be worth it. Sat down in a small room with a bunch of strangers and found myself in something that was somewhere between interactive theatre and a conversation and a seminar and a fact-finding mission and a poetry event. It was one of the most extraordinary things I've ever experienced, and every time I've gone to one of those shows, I've gone to something else that Hannah has put on, I have found myself changed in some way. Her own poetry, whether she's interacting with other people, bringing other stuff in, or just performing herself, is like Miriam's. It's that stuff that resonates in you and stays in you for ages, while at the same time being super fucking difficult to summarize neatly. It is hard and soft together, and it is emotional and clever and all sorts of excellent things, and you'll be replaying it in your mind for a while. And luckily, because we've got a live stream, you can just rewind and play it again to make sure that you've got all of the nuances. I can't adequately make sure that I welcome Hannah just by myself. So I do need your help. Usually we do this kind of like rumble of thunder thing and building up to applause. We're just going to have to improvise that somehow. I don't know, tap on your keyboards, drum on your microphones, do something interesting. But please make lots and lots and lots of noise to welcome to our virtual stage, live from her basement. This is Hannah Jane Walker.
Thank you. Thanks. Can I just ask a quick question? How do I make it so that I'm not just looking at my own face?
Oh, you then find you. It's either going to look like 9 squares in a
Oh,
square.
yeah.
Click on that one, and then you get to see a gallery of us.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, there you go. So you've got audience view, and we've got Hannah view. Fantastic.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for having me, and I really enjoyed listening to you all. And I'm always really impressed when slammers do things, because you adhere to such extraordinary rules, like the time rule and everything, and not doing anyone else's poems. And I'm going to break both of those at the very beginning. I've got permission from this really wonderful poet to read something from her collection this evening. I'm going to hold it up. Does that read backwards to you?
No, it's all good.
No. Okay, good. If you haven't read it, it's absolutely brilliant. A really wonderful poet called Selena Godden. The collection is called Pessimism is for Lightweights, 13 Pieces of Courage and Resistance. And mine, as you can see, is really dogged and folded over. And it's one of those collections that, or pamphlets rather, that you find just folding up in your bag and carrying it around. And I, like lots of people, I'm really missing my extended family and friends, and really love this poem. It's a letter to hope called The Letter, and I just thought it would be a really good thing to share this evening. I'm going to do one of Selena's poems at the beginning and one of Selena's poems at the end. So it's kind of for my little sister Alice. I don't know if she's still watching. She was watching earlier. But it's just called The Letter. Dear, I hope you're well. I hope you're warm and dry. A safe place to lie your head, some oranges, some fresh bread. I hope home is safe and sound, shelter from a storm and high ground. I hope you make time to read and grow and water all those seeds you sow. You know, you come, you know, you go. That's how the humans flow. Your geography is at best ambient, temporary, transient. Clocks are maps and time is past. Nothing isn't meant to last. Fight or flight or run and flee, not one of us, we can feel free. If some of us are locked in fear, that's how it's always been, my dear. My dear, I post this in a letter. I hope you can hold each other better. Wind and fire, fuel and wars, weary feet cross desert floors. Broken boats and brutal sea, human greed and tyranny, displacement, homeless, rearranging, constant changes, you growing, changing. So I'll enclose a breath for healing, a match to burn all ill feeling, a monarch butterfly wing. Your migration is a magnificent thing. Here's some lint for you all to build, a peppermint to suck to soothe your guilt, your burning cities, your barren land. You drown with sharks, you choke on sand. Your lost babies, your bloody tissue, that you should bear, that's the issue. Here's a bandage for your clots and splits, your hurts and passing blames in it. Where do we begin to bandage our world today? What's the root of all the pain? Everything is bloodstain. It's buried in your DNA. You carry tomorrow in yesterday. Human fox hunts, human rights. Gnarling dogs snap in moonlight. Masts in harbour, ships on shore. Precious human cargo stolen more. Clocks and maps. Time is fast. Everything is meant to pass. Fight or flight or run or flee. Not one of us can be free. If some of us are locked in fear, that's how it's always been, my dear. My dear, I hope you're well. I hope you're warm and dry. A safe place to lay your head. Some oranges, some fresh bread. Clean water and clean air. Space to grow, room to share. Home is just a marble in the sky. I roll it blue and green, and I hope I am, and hope am I. See all that free sky up above. Live with hope, live with love, hope.
Oh,
This felt like a poem we might possibly all be needing a little.
hell yeah.
I'm going to do another scene at the end of today. I prepared a set and then found that I didn't actually want to do what I'd prepared. I'm sure that quite often happens to some of you. And
Oh, yeah.
actually, I found what I wanted to actually do was a poem that I haven't done for like 10 years, and I used to know off by heart, and I don't anymore. And so I'm going to do that. It's called "I Struggled for Years with Belly Fat, and Now I Know a Thing." I say to myself that I am art. I say to myself that my memory is a list box where I keep important things and not a manky crumb pod for leftover crust of emotional toast. But still, at breakfast, in the shower, on the way to work, the list bulks out the pod box and no amount of sit-ups will make them thin. Pizza, teenaged, 1991, girls with calves smooth as bowling pins do dance routines to Ace of Base. All that she wants is another baby. I think that I am unusual, and I wear my scrunchie like a coronet of hormones. In maths, I sweat for smulch in the caretaker's cupboard. I have no mobile. I know no poetry. I mine my complexion in spotlight search of beauty self. I care if I blush when my bra strap is pinned. I care enough to eat only oranges for 9 weeks while the won't lick their lips boys wolf donuts. 1991. Lee and I do things to the dark that make it light. And the reasons for parents say no things seem to be spanner keys to a radiator that never lets off steam. I struck down streets, my breasts out, saying excuses, excuses, excuses for people who just don't know how to live their lives properly. I sleep and dream conversational philosophies. I will never look like, I will never be like, I will never grow like you in your swivel-chaired, high-heeled routine. And then the first jab, like ice to an asshole, and I see so succinctly I make bats' ears bleed. I see it with wine bottles up my coat sleeves. I see the adults who insist on supper meetings and everything so zebra crossing on a Thursday, holding hands with your little sister, parent, child, please me. But Lee in a club gets me dancing, and on the drugs that he gives me, I see eyelid trees and starlings with snap-back chins. The whole front door key thing, it didn't really matter. I was locked in, and until Rachel found me half out the cat flap, everything was cream. The wine pint spilt on CD sleeves, the we don't eat, we don't sleep, we only smoke weed routine through university, until I make a boy with split glass feelings a frame being. That scene is it's best cack blanked. Like a socially awkward accident where you mean well until you leave and you kiss everybody on the cheek in case they think you're mean. And the cleaning in the shower routine, and the suds slip into your navel, and you can't help but think about the reconciliation procedure between the ego and the ego. And the way that boy tore you like a tissue on a shoe behind a skip, and you told everyone that you didn't mind, and you didn't mind, and then a little later that you minded, and then that you thought things could have maybe not been like a can of cold tuna left behind a curtain, and the books which lie unread like underwear unworn on a special occasion because the comfy comic ones fit your too wide for doorways hips better. And the way that Ace of Base track is just spooling out the cassette tape. And you, well, you've got a pencil on your birthday and a mug of cold tea, and you're just trying to find a way to get it all back in.
Oh, lush.
It's quite long, that one. Definitely doesn't apply to the slam rule. Sorry about that. Next poem I'm going to do, I wrote for my very lovely stepdaughter. She doesn't like me calling her my stepdaughter. I just say that for clarity's sake, because when we're together, she's like 6'1" and I'm like 5'3". And if I say she's my daughter, people are like, what? And she's half Icelandic and has an Icelandic accent. So people just kind of, for ease sake, I go, she's my stepdaughter, but she's my daughter. And we lived in Scotland when I was pregnant with my daughter, my 4-year-old, and she came to live with us because she wanted to be part of the process of like the little one being born and everything. And I found myself trying to make her more British in her manners. So for instance, like in Icelandic, there's no real word for please. So she'll just be like, if you're at someone's house, she'll just be like, give me the bread. Be like, here, you have to do this like weird dance, like where you're like, I'm very sorry, but if no one else would like that piece of bread, please could I possibly have that piece of bread? I mean, I'd offer it out to everybody else first. So I kept trying to teach her these very British mannerisms, and I wrote this poem for her when she was moving back to Iceland after the little one had been born. It's called I Tried to Teach You Other Tongues. In shops, you twerk to the stutter of the till register, bebopsing into the beet treat, pretend that the chickens are dinosaurs chasing you out of the meat aisle. Behind you, people in suit jackets tut and sigh, roll their eyes, their shopping baskets creak with the weight of their days. We walk the quiet way home and I say, look, the thing is, round here, people bend round each other to reach the broccoli. They say sorry when their elbow bumps into a carrot. We ask how you are first. We queue up to offer our quiet opinions. We thank the bus driver, tip bad hairdressers, and never ever send a plate of bad food back to the kitchen. We don't do dances in the street. We send thank you cards for absolutely everything. We wrap up our old manners in chip shop paper and crinolines. She nods, thin-lipped, takes this all in, does slow arcs in this dress of nets that I've knitted. I've taught her to fit. I hope that she ignores it. She speaks the language of forests and mountains, something that my tongue is just too fixed to begin.
Oh, lovely.
Thanks. I'm sure that some of you will have this experience too, in that we were chatting earlier and saying that poetry is a little bit like a village, and that quite often means that there's quite a few relationships that happen within that village. And I'm married to an archaeologist now. I don't really know how that happened, but like for a long time I dated mainly only writers, kind of by, must have been a choice, but it felt like an accident. Just proximity of who was around, I suppose. And that's very funny, because often when you're doing gigs or you're doing something, you'll like rock up and they will be on the lineup too, and you'll be like, hey, this poem's about you. Always a little bit interesting. I'm in loads of people's poems. You would never know they were me, but I'm in like shitloads of people's poems, not even often in a very flattering light, to be honest. Some are nice, often not so nice. And my friend, my best mate Emma, she said to me, you should write a poem about all your ex writer lovers. And I was like, no, that's not the done thing. And she was like, well, isn't it? So this is my attempt at that, and the first stanza is literally lifted from that conversation that I had with her. It's called Such Opportunists. My best friend says, did you know, insert name of relatively famous ingenue poet here, works at insert name of very well respected university now. I saw him in a seminar. He has these really great glasses. I say, oh. Everyone admires his tone. It's like a glass of iced milk. Once, after what was quite bad sex for me, he stopped at the door and turned to say, "Thank you very much for that," in a tone just like cornflower blue damask.
Wow.
After he left, I changed the sheets. I had 2 showers and ate a Kilner jar of cashews. Once he said, "Your room is like a mausoleum." I'm not sure that was a compliment. Now when I move house, I take the time to think, does this look like a place where white sheets are draped over dead people's faces? Once during a thunderstorm, he asked me to sit on the edge of the bed while he brushed my hair. It took a very, very, very long time. Once in a bar, he called me and my sister over. His friends were ironically drinking espresso martinis. They mocked my sister for watching Friends, going to Mallorca on her holiday, eating bowls of pasta on her blue sofa, the way the light shines right out of her face. I've walked through so many poems looking for the toilet, boiling the kettle. You should write poems about all your ex-writer lovers, my friend says. But excited Labradors just knock teacups off coffee tables with their tails.
Ah,
Yeah. The poet who that was about, I had to go on after. I had to compare on at Latitude, and I introduced him with that poem. That's mean, isn't it? This next poem is also about sex, and actually my partner is constantly asking me not to do this poem. It's about middle-aged sex, and I really feel like in my 20s, you know, most of the conversation with my friends was about who someone was sleeping with, and was about sex. And like as we've got older, people have stopped having those types of conversations because we mainly know each other's partners, and it's not appropriate to have a conversation about sex when you know their partner. It's weird. It's weird. And so I wrote this poem, partly inspired by a wonderful poet called Martin Figura, who has a poem I think called middle-aged sex. Mine's called Healthy. It's not as good as Martin's. The sex that we have, it's a boasting poem, by the way, deliberately meant to be a boasting poem. The sex we have drags home half-ruined street furniture and barricades the hallway against the winter. It army crawls into the flat and hangs flags up on the towel rail. It insists upon standing far too close to you at the bus stop, wearing a waterproof that smells of digestives, and then gets up from the table mid-conversation to just run around the room whooping. It hasn't learned the subject from the object. It protractors its name into the soft wood of the science table, roaches the report card, licks all the addresses off the envelopes. The sex that we have falls in love with things singularly, eats them looking you dead in the eye, and then regurgitates them onto your doorstep. The sex that we have presses its face right into your chest, heaves your ribs apart and headbangs your heart until the jabbering quits. The sex we have untucks the sofa throw, scatters pillows, surges the white good, and oops out the boiler light as we finish. Next poem I'm going to do, like I'm sure most of you quite often go and sit in cafes, you know, when we're allowed out the house. And like you pretend that you're not writing about people who are in the cafe, but you are. Like, you're writing down things that you hear, and like morally, yeah, that is a little bit ambiguous. But I was watching a woman in a cafe with 2 really close together in age toddlers in a supermarket cafe, and she was just having one of those days where I just felt really sorry for her. She looked exhausted, and so I wrote this poem for her. I'm never going to give it to her because I don't even know who she is. But I realize that a lot of people have got kids at home and they're trying to do their jobs at the same time. So it seemed like an appropriate poem to share. That's what I'm trying to do at the moment. It hasn't got title. It's for that lady. You are conducting a small army. The toast is coming. Please, please don't slam the table over and over again. Put your feet, just put your feet down. Over their fists, the soldiers smash together beakers. You've not slept well. Waking to place a hand on a back and pat. In the shower, you close your eyes. 15 years ago, you would have cried. You're conducting a small army. Each morning you turn the ship out of the harbour, and today maybe you'll reach China. Maybe you'll just buy light bulbs. But at supper, it will all just seem so small. Whatever the reason to do this or not do this, there's a price. All those extra spaces you never much noticed are given over to comforting and schedules and outgrown tights. In a box in the cupboard is a pile of pictures of you in an army, but on the wall now, the soldiers shine. In the shower, you close your eyes. Your teeth are yellow. Your stomach's a handbag. There's stains on the edges of absolutely everything. The army ask how this happened as you get dressed. The answer is an algaed lake on top of a skyscraper complex. You're conducting a small army. This is how we give. Rings round and round the inside of your eyelids. Your mother tilts her chin, says, this is how to lead. So please stay with me. Thanks. Are you bored yet?
No.
No.
Well, maybe you are. I mean, you can tell me. I was going to do a sad poem next, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to do a poem which was written for Latitude last year and was for Forest Fringe, who are a really wonderful theatre organisation, festival body of people, and it was put into Morse code through a light bulb which was flickering in the darkness. I didn't really understand. It was cool, but, it's beyond my technological knowledge and abilities, and it just also seemed appropriate at this moment in time to share it. I think it hasn't got a title. There's a theme there. Hi. I was wondering when you might want to talk. I'm so glad that you made it past the barrier. I hope that you're comfy. And please don't be afraid, you've just got your eyes closed. If I leave long gaps, it's because sometimes there are bits of light that open you right up. And then the trees lean in and all the air listens. But just to keep the conversation going, I'll tell you that when I was like 14, my friend Medina sat me down on the top step of the technology building and she said, if you ever feel hopeless, just think about a T-Rex trying to wrestle a duvet cover onto a duvet. But I want to talk to you about roads and how it looks like we've run out. How we've been driving for quite a long time now, in fact, for fucking ages, down all the roads that we were told to go, and how we've seen ourselves past so many cities and barbed wire and field mist. And now we've reached a big yellow barrier and we're there waiting and waiting. And it looks like nobody's coming to show us the way. So we are going to need to go cross country from here. Okay, your feet will harden, so that will be fine. And you know as much as you're ever going to need. And if you look between the trees, you'll see other people climbing gateposts, vaulting fences like rodeo riders, all saying goodbye to the broken machine. And at some point in the future, we will reach a clearing. And there we will build a fire, and into it will feed all of the old policy papers. And oh, from what a distance the flames will be seen. Your eyes are open. I hope that you're comfy. I'm so glad that you made it past the barrier.
Oh, beautiful. So beautiful.
Next, I felt it was appropriate to do 2 poems from a show that I made. The one that Faye very generously introduced me by talking about. I made it with a really brilliant playwright, theatre maker called Chris Thorpe. He's amazing. If you ever get a chance to see any of his shows, he's amazing. And we make shows together sometimes. And we made a few shows, but one of them was called The Oh Fuck Moment. And it's about the moment that is beyond apology, like where you've done something that is so bad that you're like, I don't know how to get back from that. And there was 2 poems in the show which just felt really appropriate to share with you. And there's some gaps in this poem where normally I would ask audience members to like think of something that they have done. And I'm just wondering if that can work via this technology, or if I should just leave a long pause where I get you guys to imagine them. Faye, can that work?
It can definitely work. If people are unmuted, they should be able to do something.
Okay,
Join
so
in.
I would like you, there's how many gaps? There's 6 gaps. And I might get Faye, when I nod, I might get Faye to like call a person's name and then they say it. But I'd like you to think of a time where you've done something which there was just genuinely absolutely no way back from. It could be something really small. It could be something really big. It could be something as small as like asking somebody when their baby's due when they're not pregnant. That's quite a small one. A really big one. Well, I mean, I've had some extraordinary ones. I can't reveal to you, but like they can be as big as you want as well. I'd ask you to like make it sort of a sentence, just because I need to move on with the poem. I mean, I'd love to have it just like here. I'd love to have the whole rest of the time hearing about your mistakes. That would be brilliant, but maybe that's a different thing.
Racking my brains, yeah.
It just started with, it was when, so the sentence to start it with is, it was when I ... So it was when I asked the woman if she was pregnant and she wasn't, or it was when I left the school rabbit in the boot of the car and it died, or that was someone's once that we were told. So Faye, when I nod, that's when the next one goes. Okay, I'll try and keep my head really still. Is anyone like, no, hell no, I don't want to do this?
I'm going to take, if you're muted, I'm not going to call on you, basically. So if you're
Everyone
unmuted,
scrambles to mute themselves.
if you're unmuted, I will say your name.
Okay, cool. Okay, it's called Construct Monuments. And it's about celebrating mistakes, which obviously is interesting for now. Construct monuments. Make them our faces. Cut us into granite at the moment that the penny dropped, and underneath carve, we are the presidents of the united fuck-ups of everything. Commission artisans to memorialize our tiny accidents in chrome and alabaster, lest we forget. This is where she neglected to hold her daughter's hand at the top of the steps. And later, this is where he made his life into a lie. Close the roads, make April the 3rd a day of remembrance, and then let it slip by unmarked like a lover's birthday. Let's have a family party where fuck-ups are piñatas, but we don't smash them. We carry them shoulder high, birds of paradise. Choose an anthem and let the first line be
Elizabeth.
It was when I texted an ex to say I loved them, but I got their number wrong by 1 digit. I got some interesting replies.
Into a bench hack.
Miriam.
It was when I told my husband's family at my husband's wake that he was a complete bastard. Didn't go well.
On your bedroom wall, hang.
I'm going to choose me for this one. It was when he asked me if there was anything missing, and I said, more foreplay, maybe?
In school assembly, teach the kids to chant.
Catherine.
It was when I realised the dog doesn't understand an apology when I stand on his tail.
In an antique locket woven from your great-great-grandmother's hair, put.
Helen.
It was when I asked a little black kid on the bus if they were singing Bar Bar Black Sheep.
Jones.
Oh.
That's cool.
Tattoo your forehead in jaunty Comic Sans.
Rebecca.
It was when I wrote a 2,000-word article about a woman whose name was Marina Gaze, but I thought it was Marina Hayes, and that made it into print.
Document all of this and then send for the museum service. Ask for tips in statue maintenance. Organize a pilgrimage of disasters, and when the message spreads and thousands gather unashamed to touch the stone hems of our great mistakes, we will know that the human race has finally accepted that we are messy, structurally inept, and states of grace are dreams that hold us static. In 30-foot bronze letters, we will hang our welcome message. Thanks to those of you who taught us most by fucking up the worst.
Yeah.
And when the knots come loose and the letters like guillotines put the statues' heads into the crowd, well, we will applaud it. Because the carnage, it kind of proves our point. Thank you for doing that. This is another one from that show. Thank you. Those were amazing I Funk moments. And thank you for being so generous in sharing them. They were amazing. This is the last poem in that show. About fucking up. A pilot's pocket catches on the autopilot switch. A surgeon dips for incision and slips. A mountain guide clocks that the map is upside down and here is no water, only rock. A man slips in the bathroom and it goes all the way in. A gambler's ball scuttles back to black. A child falls off the roof out the back. A dendrologist hacks down the world's oldest tree. The facts had no backup and I am a fuck up. And of course I am. We all are. Take minutes while the mushroom clouds bloom in your eyelids, the heat of your armpits, the musk of primates, the stomach drop like a car off a bridge while the girl in the passenger seat fumbles the gear stick. We are the apex of pyramids of ancestral I did this. And each monkey admits that he is imperfect, and of course you are. We are. I am. The office is a safari of signage, piranhas in water coolers, tigers in filing cabinets, anarchy in in trays and foyers and contracts, tectonic systems, tectonic plates held steady with systems, procedures against love and lust, volcanoes and weather. You cannot throw stationery, lanyards, spreadsheets down to feed chaos. You think that this is order? and that you can control it. And of course you do. We all do. I do. You little perfectionists, blinkered like thoroughbreds, collapse the card house, drip oil into the gulf like vinaigrette. You economist singing on the edge of the abyss, you do not know how to see the world as it isn't. You cannot remember the past, and you think that the future will build monuments, and it won't. We won't. I won't. So we sit with Cheshire pub table grins, savouring failures like ashless cigars, and instead of, and that is why you shouldn't eat those berries, it's, and that's why I'm glad I'm not him. But we tell these things because we can imagine what it's like to be someone else in some other place, standing in a doorway, an outline of grace, realizing there's no such thing as death and glory, just death. The ghosts of pilots, they spool from black boxes. There is still disaster, health and safety heretics battling God complexes, a small series of arm movements that leads to a smoking hole in the skin of a city and attempts to jigsaw lessons from I'm sorry, and of course you are. We all are. I am. We are standing on the shoulders of our great mistakes. And we should celebrate in stadiums. Our faces radiant with permanent marker, our foreheads beaming with messages of the moment that we realize which switch we just flipped. Of the ice beneath our feet cracking into continents. And written on us in hopeful epitaph, there is no way back. But the future will forgive. And of course it will. We will. Oh, I will. Just gonna finish by doing another poem from very excellent Selena Godden.
Yes.
Love her.
She's so good.
Love you as well.
Oh, thanks. I'll read you the title poem. I might read you two. Do you want to hear one about poets? Because you're all poets. And then I'll read you the final one. This one's called Sorry to Trouble You. About poets. They call them the troubled poets. I love poets who are troubled. Poets causing trouble and troubling other poets. Poets troubled by drunkenness and nightmares and insomnia. Troubled poets troubled by depression, heart-sick isolation. I love troubled poets, troubled by poverty and hunger, writing poetry by a tea light with a stolen job centre pen, a spider for an audience, a cigarette for heat, drinking cooking lager. I love troubled poets troubled by conflict, scribbling poems in Yarl's Wood Immigration Removal Centre on their own wrist with a piece of glass. I love troubled poets troubled in refugee camps, troubled in children's homes, troubled in shop doorways, sleeping rough in rain-soaked rags, relying on food banks, eating cold beans from the tin, using newspaper for a sanitary towel. Troubled poets troubled in the trenches, troubled by apathy, troubled by abuse and torture, poets writing in blood in prison cells and given public lashings for writing, just for writing blogs and publishing poems and then stoned to death in the town square for their trouble. Troubled poets writing and fighting for human rights, troubling themselves with all that is unsaid and all that is meant inside the graffiti. I love a troubled poet's troubled cry. Thank fuck for that. Bless you, you troubled poet. I thank you for troubling yourself. I love you. Troubled poets who start trouble, speaking up for freedom, for an end to the killing. I hear you, troubled poets. Troubled by silence, violence, troubled by a lack of light, lack of truth, troubled by the troubles of the world, rocks in your pockets and stones under the tongue, wading into icy water, tying a hangman's noose around a troubled throat, gargling your troubled words to the end. I love troubled poets that trouble themselves, peeling onions in a Calais kitchen, protesting at Downing Street, Stormzy singing, "You Think We Forgot About Grenfell." I love that troubled poet. Troubled poets sharing, airing their troubles in public. Poets who trouble themselves with trouble. I love the poets who are bothering to trouble us. Poets who bother to trouble themselves. Troubled poets who are troubled by this terrible, terribly troubling, troubled world. Paulina. And I'm just going to do one more and then I'll finish if I can find it, which is, here it is. It's called Pessimism. It's a bit more hopeful than that. It's called Pessimism. It's for lightweights. Some of you may know this. It's very good. Think of those that marched this road before and those that will march here in years to come. The road in shadow and the road in sun. The road before us and the road all done. History is watching us and what we will become. This road is all flags and milestones. Immigrant blood and sweat and tears built this city, built this country, made this road last for all these years. This road is made of protest and those not permitted to vote, and those that are still fighting to speak with a boot stamping on their throat. There is power and strength in optimism, to have faith and stay true to you, because if you can look in the mirror and have belief and promise, you will share wonder in living things, beauty, dreams, books, art. Love your neighbor and just be kind and have an open heart, and then you're already winning at living. You speak up, you show up and stand tall. It's silence that's complicit. It's apathy that hurts us all. Pessimism is for lightweights. There is no straight white line. It's the bumps and curves and obstacles that make this road yours and mine. Pessimism is for lightweights. This road was never easy or straight. And living is all about living alive and lively. And love will conquer hate.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Well done, Selena. Thank you very much for having me.
No, that's okay. Do you have anything to plug? You've got your spotlight.
Not, I don't know if I'm allowed to announce it yes or no.
Intriguing.
So if people would like to find out, what space should they be watching to find out what the hell that's about?
Website. You're not going to do that, but I'll tell you what it is anyway. It's just hannahjanewalker.co.uk. But yes, I'm going to be publishing a very nice pamphlet with a very nice press soon.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Brilliant. More ways to take a bit of Hannah home and that resonant stuff. Wonderful. I will cancel the spotlight and move back. There we go. Hello. Right. So that was a bit amazing. Can we give it up again, please, for Hannah Jane Walker? So yeah, go and I need to get my hat back on if I'm going to be the host. There you go. Right, no longer audience member host. So go check out her website, hannahjanewalker.co.uk. She's on Twitter. I think it's a good way of getting hold of you. Instagram, I think we can find you there, and things
generally
like that.
bobbing about.
Just bobbling about the social medias. Go find that kind of thing.
And I hope you all stay well and healthy, and all your loved ones do too. Take care.
That is the plan, isn't it? Yes. So we're just going to say some bye and thanks and stuff. So first of all, we saw Miriam San Marco is still here and sucking on a Mivvy by the look of it. Please give it up.
It's a fab.
Oh, it's a fab. I don't know. Give it up for Miriam. Hey! And then we had our slam in the middle there. We had our sacrificial slammer Rebecca. Can we give it up again for Rebecca? Joining us from London. And then we had our 4 amazing slammers. Can we please give it up for Caris and Demi and Catherine and Elizabeth? Give it all up for them. Special congratulations to Catherine, who is this heat's winner. Well done. Then we have 5 people to thank, or there was like a joint thing there. We had our judges, was Ken and Helen Stroke Laura and Bella and Roger, and my brain's fallen over. Who was the 5th person?
Me.
Yes, Miriam, of course. Yes, I've already thanked you. I was just going, no, was that? Give it up for the judges, please. Very good. I have a traditional content warning pun way of thanking the judges, which is to say thank you, judges. Without you, this would have been literally pointless. So yes, a groan is as good as a laugh in this particular instance. So yes. Yeah, weird thing to thank, but for everyone who over the last couple of weeks has helped me software test, road test these various things. So Catherine and Caris and Miriam, among those people who just help press buttons and talk into screens and not look weirded out when I disappeared and tried other things out and put this all live on different places. Thank you for making that possible, and to Roger for helping with advice on technology. Can we give it up for those people and the people who aren't here with all that? I don't need to thank the venue because it's my house, but thank you for that, I guess. But we've not long finished thanking her, but can we thank again our headliner, Hannah Jane Walker? Please give it up again for her. Gorgeous stuff.
And can we thank those without whom it all would have been impossible?
Absolutely.
Things. It's fine. Yeah, we're determined to keep doing this, to keep making sure people have connections with art and with poetry and with each other. We have these nice little interval moments where we can talk to each other, all of that kind of gorgeous stuff. When we stop being live, we will still be able to chat between ourselves for all of this. And one of the things that, yeah, I miss about that, we have been Hammer and Tongue. We will be Hammer and Tongue next month with someone featuring. I'm hoping that's all going to go beautifully on the 1st of May. We will also be allographic every Sunday for the workshop, and the next time will be on the 26th for our open mic with all of its chaos and its beauty. Until then, stay well, stay strong, keep talking to each other. Do as Miriam said, do wear clothes every so often, drink water, eat food, make art, and talk to other people, and just keep everything moving. And it's fine. Someone left, but I don't feel slighted in any way. You're all lovely. Thank you all so very much, and we'll see you again soon. Bye. Right, let's stop being live in 3.